Hey everyone, and welcome back to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're looking at a destination where epic, world-changing history just seamlessly meets incredibly vibrant modern life. So let's dive right into this, shall we? We're going to unpack the story of a nation that quite literally mapped the modern world, but still feels so alive and accessible today. We are talking about Portugal, and more specifically, how its incredible past perfectly sets the stage for its stunning capital, Lisbon.
Now, here's a quick question for you. Did you know Portugal is actually one of Europe's oldest countries? I mean, a lot of people just assume the borders of European nations have shifted endlessly over the last millennium. And, for a lot of places, that's completely true. But Portugal, it's a really fascinating exception. Way before it was a global maritime powerhouse, and honestly, way before the iconic, colorful streets of Lisbon became a modern traveler's absolute dream, it had to forge its own deep roots on the Iberian Peninsula. It's an origin story that goes back way further than most people realize.
Section 1. One of Europe's oldest.
So, to really appreciate just how deep those roots go, we've got to travel all the way back to the 12th century. The stakes during this medieval period were incredibly high. The birth of this nation wasn't just, handed over on a silver platter. It was fought for, declared, and then painstakingly legitimized on the world stage. It all kicks off in 1139. That's when Afonso Henriques leads his forces to a massive victory at the Battle of Alric and boldly declares himself the very first king of Portugal. But of course, you aren't truly a kingdom until your neighbors actually agree that you are, right? So that brings us to 1143, when the Treaty of Zamora officially recognizes Portugal's independence. Still, in medieval Europe, there was one ultimate authority you absolutely needed on your side. And that leads us to the final pivotal date, 1179. That is when the Pope officially confirmed their independence. This basically cemented Portugal as a sovereign nation, making it one of the oldest continuous countries in Europe. Pretty wild, right?
Part 2. The Age of Discovery.
Now, from those early medieval borders, the narrative scale of this country just shifts dramatically as we move into the 15th and 16th centuries. Portugal didn't just want to survive on the edge of Europe anymore, it was about to look outward and completely dominate the global stage. And this brings us to a name you probably remember from history class, Vasco da Gama. During this era, Portugal totally transformed into a leading maritime power. I mean, Portuguese explorers were pushing the absolute boundaries of the known world, sailing across completely uncharted waters. When Vasco da Gama discovered the direct sea route to Asia, specifically to India, it was, frankly, an absolute game-changer. It effectively launched the Age of Discovery, bypassing all those old land routes and opening up a direct channel for just untold riches.
These perilous voyages completely transformed the nation, literally making Portugal one of the world's greatest trading empires. We're talking about an influx of wealth, spices, and global influence that fundamentally reshaped the whole country. To put that into perspective, the sheer scale of this empire meant that a relatively small European nation was suddenly pulling the economic strings of the entire world. And all that massive wealth, it poured directly back into the architecture and culture of its cities.
Part 3. History meets modern life.
Okay, so we are snapping the narrative right back from the sweeping global high seas to the physical, sun-drenched streets of Portugal's capital, Lisbon, today. Because you see, all that medieval grit and Age of Discovery wealth didn't just disappear. Not at all. It became the literal foundation for one of the most vibrant cities in the world. The contrast is just incredible. You can imagine the bustling 16th century maritime hub where ships arrived, heavily laden with goods from across the globe. And now you can admire those exact same historic riverside landmarks while bright yellow, colorful trams just rattle right past you. It's this unique blend of ancient medieval streets leading up to stunning modern viewpoints that makes Lisbon such an unforgettable destination. History isn't trapped in some dusty museum here. You are literally walking right on top of it.
Section 4. Top Lisbon Sites.
So, if you're planning to experience this incredible blend of history and culture for yourself, where exactly should you go? Well, let's run through a rapid-fire travel guide of the absolute must-see spots in Lisbon, where every single corner tells a part of the epic story we literally just covered. Okay, here's your ultimate checklist. First, you've got the Grand Praça do Comércio and the stunning Arco da Rua Augusta right by the water. If you really want to feel the sheer wealth of that Age of Discovery we talked about, you have to visit the Belém Tower and the breathtaking Jerónimos Monastery. I mean, they are literal monuments to that maritime glory.
Want to get lost in the medieval history? Just wander through the winding, ancient streets of the Alfama district. You can catch a ride on the iconic Tram 28, grab an amazing bite at the bustling Time Out Market, or, even take a beautiful day trip to the coastal town of Cascais. Every single one of these locations is a direct bridge between Portugal's epic past and its thriving present.
So definitely make sure to save this guide for your next trip to Portugal. I really hope this explainer has sparked a bit of wanderlust for you and shown you how understanding the history of a place can completely transform the way you experience it. It's one thing to just, see a beautiful building. It's another entirely to know it was funded by the very first sea routes to India. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. When you finally walk these colorful historic streets, are you just a tourist taking in the sights, or are you stepping directly into a living, breathing chapter of human history? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you next time.